What's up guys, it's Punchy and it's that time of the year again. This upcoming Monday, June 5th, it's my birthday and I decided to do something fun for that occasion. Last year, a long time ago, Natoons and I created an entirely fan-made Deepwoken event called the Rotwe Festival, but this time I'll be doing something that you guys want to see. In the past, I've only made a couple of One Piece builds, including some of my favorite characters like Trafalgar Law and Sanji Vinsmoke. Those builds were some of the most fun to create and I spent a ton of time brainstorming what would this character have in Deepwoken. I'm not gonna lie, I probably will be making an updated Sanji build, but that's a topic for another date. Today's character focus is on One Piece and its very own mad, mochi-slinging, mom-protecting, Magellan-sized menace known as Katakuri. Before we start, spoiler warning for the Whole Cake One Piece arc, I will be touching on some content from this section, so you have been warned. Katakuri is just one of those rare characters in One Piece that is so impactful to the story that he makes Luffy ascend further than ever before. During their fight in the Whole Cake arc, Katakuri and Luffy trade blows as equals until both of them push further beyond in order to end this duel. Despite being an opponent for the Straw Hat crew, Katakuri is a tragic character and he's not really a bad guy. Ever since Katakuri was a child, people were afraid of his monstrous strength. In fact, he only took an L after Luffy came around, and to be fair, that's to be expected. L stands for Luffy, so yeah. Anyway, Katakuri is cool, calm, and collected until you get family involved. This man does not mess around and gets the job done when his siblings and relatives are in danger. A lot of characters in One Piece will backstab and take any advantage away from the Straw Hat crew, but the Mochi Man himself is like, nah, I'm honorable. During his fight with Luffy, Katakuri injures himself, so both of them can fight at the same level. Nothing should prevent a fair fight. That being said, his abilities are almost endless and he possesses the Mochi Mochi No Mi. Katakuri exists in the One Piece story to literally be the better version of Luffy. Anything that Luffy can do, Katakuri replicates at a higher level. His body shifts and warps like flour while possessing the ability and sticky properties of Mochi. We'll get more into that later, but that's a quick glimpse into Charlotte Katakuri. In the previous episode of Punchy's Adventures of whatever, I became the king of Hueco Mundo. Of course, it was fun while it lasted, but I've moved on from that. I, TheRealPunchee, vowed to become the king of pirates and I definitely need your help. So join my crew if you like what I'm doing and I swear I will change the world. Please enjoy. Anyway, as I recreated Katakuri in Deepwoken, I had a ton of fun. The drip is always something I prioritize and it looks pretty damn convincing. First things first, in my eyes, Katakuri had to be Terran, well, to obtain his very own eyes. During his introduction, Mr. Mochi showed off his advanced Ken Haki, observation Haki, as he utilized the ability of Future Sight. Katakuri makes use of all sorts of Haki, that being observation, armament, and don't forget conquerors, so his eyes must reflect the color of the Supreme King. With his pink and red theme, we dyed our hair to become as close as possible to that boy Katakuri. Next up, I tackle his fluffy flower scarf, which hides his fangs and scarred face. Do you want to know how I got these scars? Well, in actuality, Katakuri's face basically ripped because he ate so many mochi donuts. You know, people made fun of him, but this is undeniable drip. We took advantage of our Vigil hood, Dawn's scarf, and hired mercenary outfit to replicate his iconic flower scarf. The final piece of this puzzle was our application of the dyed Smith's gloves. Katakuri has a bunch of unique tattoos, which I honored with our pink arm wraps. This character was so much fun to design, and we're not even done with that. Throughout the Whole Cake arc, Katakuri wields a trident spear by the name Magura. Magura in Japanese means to burrow, or I guess pierce, and it makes sense for what he actually does. Using Magura and his Mochi abilities, Katakuri impales his enemies which stick to him like glue. It's very easy for him to stab somebody and fling them around with the sticky Mochi armament. In Deepwoken, we did the same using an elastic trident spear. Getting in close and laying on pressure was my plan, and elastic does this job correctly. Not to mention the purple-pink drip is pretty effective after taking a look at Katakuri's very own color scheme. My build started off strange, but it eventually evolved into what you see right now. Using the Mochi Mochi No Mi, we started off weak, but with enough hard work, we awakened our devil fruit just like Katakuri. With a small investment into Flame Charm, I did my best to combine everything necessary to create the Minister of Flower, Charlotte Katakuri. That being said, let's get right into our abilities. Starting off, Katakuri loves donuts even more than Akaza, and in a perfect world, he would just eat mochi donuts forever. Much like Katakuri, in Deepwoken we absorb or eat Iron Sing ore in order to get buffs and motivation during our fights, but it's no time to relax. His fruit, the Mochi Mochi No Mi, has an endless amount of moves allowing Katakuri to do the impossible. Not only can Katakuri dodge attacks and transform into liquid mochi, but he can burn enemies and trap them within his sticky flower attacks. Using the portal spell, we're able to vanish from sight and escape any attack, similar to Katakuri's Mochi transformation. On the other hand, when we want to attack using Flaming Uppercut, Flaming Flourish, and Nullifying Clarity, we burn our enemies and harness that flame to empower our next attack. If we're able to M1 a burning enemy, that status is removed in order to buff our own damage. Now, Mochi's sticky trap abilities were pulled off perfectly using the Iron Iron Sink Jailer path. With a certain amount of metal rods, we can stick enemies with our Mochi and deal insane damage while they're stunned, and Katakuri is just that strong. Even without Mochi, Katakuri is a formidable force of nature. Almost every technique he has uses armament haki, the strongest that we've ever seen. Using empowered punches and defense, Katakuri has it all. Not to mention, with his ascended observation haki, Katakuri sees the future and acts accordingly. Like, you cannot sneak up on the goat. In Deepwoken, the Ardor Murmur worked best to provide us with armament haki, our defensive and offensive tool. This is essential to Katakuri's character, so you cannot skip this. Future Sight, on the other hand, was tackled using prediction. Players cannot catch us lacking, so we harness their power and throw it right back. Just saying, all of this is base Katakuri, not even using his moves, so let's get onto that right now. One of the first abilities Katakuri uses is Mochi Blade Bullets. He transforms his body and shoots hardened Mochi at Luffy in bursts. He even turns himself into a Gatling gun to spam shots at Luffy, and it's pretty effective. We pull this off in Deepwoken using Mecha Gatling to stun our target and apply Burning Mochi Flame. It's more of a meme, but don't forget it. With a combination technique using both his Magura Spear and his Mochi manipulation abilities, Katakuri pulls out the Mochi Suki, or Mochi Thrust in English, to pierce anything in sight. Propelling himself forward, Katakuri's Mochi arm stretches apart and extends in order to increase his stabbing range. In Deepwoken, the new Iron Sing mantra, Oxidizing Rush, looks a whole lot like Mochi Suki. We spin around our arm and thrust several spikes of Mochi into our enemy as we set up our metal Mochi rods. To elaborate further on Katakuri's increased range, we too make use of Phantom Edge to snipe players from further away. Instead of stretching our weapon with Mochi, we do it using metal. Next up, one of Katakuri's strongest techniques and forms is when he transforms into a Mochi Donut. Combining two of his favorite things, Mochi and donuts, he becomes a spinning ball of death. Katakuri barrels towards his enemy at maximum speed and slams down into them with exponential force. Although there's no donuts in Deepwoken yet, we instead transform into a metal ball. Much like Katakuri, we knock our enemies down and start our crazy combos. Katakuri's final and strongest technique, Buzz Cut Mochi, is a hybrid technique that makes use of his Mochi Donut form. With Buzz Cut, Katakuri traps Luffy within Mochi, swings him around at terminal velocity, and finally smashes him through the floor. It's a devastating finishing blow, but it was not enough to stop Luffy. A giant version of Iron Slam does this move justice as we snipe our enemies from afar. Slamming the ground, just like Buzz Cut, is effective at displacing and block breaking our enemies. Next up, Katakuri's Awakened Devil Fruit allows him to access Ascended Mochi Manipulation. During this awakening, Katakuri generates floating unstoppable Mochi donuts that throw haki-covered hands. This technique and form is called Power Mochi, and some of these punches are the strongest we've ever seen in One Piece up until now. Metal Armament becomes our Power Mochi as we swing a second time after hitting our opponent. Similar to Katakuri, this extended pressure gets us far as we deal damage at close range. That being said, Power Mochi is a single punch, but later on, using Mochi Ginchaku or Mochi Anemone, Katakuri releases a barrage of attacks from these unstoppable Mochi donuts. With a ridiculous display of power, the environment around Katakuri crumbles as he punches everything into dust. Our barrage comes from rapid punches, which we use to pressure enemies and back them into a corner. It's very good for this. One of the final Mochi Awakening abilities that Katakuri possesses is Mochi Rainfall. Transforming the ground around him, Mochi forms out of nothing and slams down into Luffy like rain. It's almost an impossible attack to dodge since there's so many attacks just raining down upon you. In Deepwoken, Metal Rain works best as we throw it down as a supporting mantra. During our regular combos, Metal Rain can pitch in and deal damage and apply passive, pressure as we hit our target. That's all for Katakuri's techniques. Check out his full talent list. Finally, onto some fights with the Minister of Mochi, Charlotte Katakuri. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Katakuri is one of my favorite One Piece characters of all time, right next to Law, Sabo, and Ace, and hopefully that was reflected in my depiction of this character. As always, I check comments and build suggestions in my Discord, and if you want me to recreate your favorite character in Deepwoken, please let me know down below. That's all for now, and again, this is a birthday present from me to you guys. Thank you, and it's punchin' time.